look at all the names first.
Something's happened here. She's collecting some kind of information from the back wall that is revealed only to her. And there are shock waves coming from this information. It's taking a material form, and she's stumbling as she processes it. It's a kind of screen. It's a screen not as in a device, but in terms of some kind of porous threshold that is somewhat transparent. It's a force that makes itself known by its movement across and through the pores. Now she's fallen. She's now collecting herself, collecting something that's come out of maybe the membrane has torn. Something has torn, and now there are shards that are littering the stage. Her footsteps are careful, and she almost glides through. The sound is not penetrating or piercing, merely smooth, swooping, soft, and now there is a glittery field of dust. There is a luminous dust that she is collecting, like snowflakes falling on a dreary sky. We see that because there are two clouds. One is much more gray than the other. Therefore, there's an imbalance. The weather is changing and it's unpredictable. She's rising, reaching, and there's a misstep. There's a miscalculated step. The glitter has blinded her. She is unable to process the amount of color that is generated through the light bouncing off of those rays, which, if we think about a cloud, which is constituted by many, many droplets of water that are not yet big enough to fall to the earth. They are in a limbo state. In a moment of becoming rain, they are a cloud simply as it swirls and passes and changes shapes. She is now shifting into something else, leaning into the source of a kind of entrance. She's making an entrance through a stage not as in a physical space, but as a moment of progression, an event that is taking a structural form that upholds itself through a contorted frame that is seeking a kind of ridicule. She is presenting her difference as though it is of consequence. Consequence, 3 syllables that mark the triangular shape formed as the arch meets the cloud and the other cloud, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. The rhyme suggests that she's keeping time and she's stepping backwards to the side. She's exploring a different range of motion, a different field of possibility that's activated by the way that she glides. Now as she is shifting her weight, swaying as in a tree that reaches up to the clouds, which would be a redwood. So this has something to do with the Gulf Stream that is circumnavigating the No, this is something different because the energy is put back into the earth. There are ways that this is rooted, something is being unrooted. There is an unrooted sense that whatever was surviving has no longer the capacity to move on, to continue. It's a defiant form of life that reflects the kinds of porous membrane that is at the back of the stage and is also the swirling mass that makes shapes in the sky, that produces stories about us. She is rehearsing a kind of formation of a selfhood that comes out of a shape-shifting presence of water. This is about water life, a body 70% water, a body that moves, that glides as though it is itself a pool, shifting and turning. It's a river. She is now attaching something to herself. Perhaps it is a device it's a fruit, something to be eaten, to be consumed, devoured. Something to be devoured. She's devouring it at the backstage where it is the darkest. She has now exploded into a different position. Devouring an explosion equals vomit. So there is something that is spilled forth in a violent manner that cannot be contained. She can't eat the vomit, because then it would be something else and it would transform the very insides of her being, which would make her something else, something sinister perhaps. Maybe something is going wrong here. Maybe she is now in some kind of altercation, which means there is a dynamic of power up above. And as we see, there is a light source emanating from the top of the stage at a tangent to where the light forms an arc. The arc itself is comprised of different layers of intensity. Layers of intensity suggest the absence of colors of a rainbow, which, when struck through which are formed from when struck through a prism, light contains all the colors. She is the color. She's conjuring something about colors and shades. This is a gray cloud that is somehow connected to the other, the white cloud, through this arc, this rainbow, which should reflect different colors, but it does not. She is the color. maybe it's going to be okay. Maybe she is the color that we need to see that will explain how these things have taken shape and form, and maybe this is the key to understanding what has happened here. And there is, the gliding has come back. Now it is a dance. She is skipping. There's a youthful quality about the deferral of a kind of ending. There's a deferral of an end. There is a recognition. And now a complete bathing in the light. This is something hygienic about her presence here. Something is being cleansed off of her body. The luminous dust that glitters is now settled onto the crown of her head. And will she wipe it away? No, it's settling now on her nose, and it's seeming to envelop her presence as she stands with her feet shoulder width apart in a power position, as if ready to take on a force. But this is something that has happened before. This is something repeated. There's something mundane about this activity that bores her. She is bored to tears. She will start crying. She will cry her tears, which are made of water, which have, we can only assume, passed through clouds, which are not actual clouds, but representations of clouds, formed through fabric which was grown by cotton, which was watered by the very tears that she might have cried in the past, that come back to us now through this luminous quality of the glitter, which is itself a kind of color, which is not emotional. This is material. This is a statement about what it means to live and to think about living. She is living differently. She's skewed. She is facing the corner of the stage. There is no sense that there is a hygienic action to cleanse anything anymore. No, she has brushed her forehead, which is the frontal lobe, which contains her capacity for analytical thinking. So she is engaged in some kind of debate. She is questioning some statement that was made that holds no ground. It contains a logic that disintegrates in the very moment it's articulated, and she is facing some kind of presence that doesn't listen to logic, so she has to use her body to suggest alternate states of argumentation. This is something about the way that there is an after effect, an image, something has been exposed too long. This is about exposure. There is, the sunlight itself has settled into these shapes. The shapes are now going inside of her body. They're going inside to follow the traces of the fruit, which may be forbidden. Maybe this was not something intended to happen, but it's happening nonetheless. Maybe it's going to be okay. Maybe this is all a kind of fantasy that is presented. Maybe we are at her back now. We are behind her, we are sitting behind her, which means we are passively consuming whatever is happening now, but we're okay with it. This is complicity. She is making us complicit in an act of watching, witnessing some kind of relationship as she hands over some kind of keys, some kind of object that perchance might open. Maybe this contains some information about what exactly that object is at the center of the stage that her head now covers. I cannot see, but it's a circular donut shape. There's something that's being carried, a burden that is being shouldered on the right side. Right brain has to do with completing tasks sequentially. So this is one step among many that has to be completed before it can continue. The donut shape is itself either an eyeball or an anus. Either it is an entrance into or an escape from. If we think about polyps, medusas, we think about life forms that have only one opening, to admit and to expel refuse. This is about where coming in is the same as leaving. She is now arched onto the support, the structural support for this very arch is now the place where she is clinging as in stuck, as in sticking, sticky. which contrasts the way that her steps have glided in the past, which means something has accumulated here, some kind of information that has a material form that is sticky as in residue, as in evaporation, whatever the substance is that she wiped from her brow, this glittery quality, it is glistening because the water that held it together has now evaporated to combine with the clouds to produce a different kind of weather, a weather that she must navigate through. There seems to be something threatening about being evaporation, threatening. There is some kind of combustion. The threat to combustion is the presence of water, but in its steam. Steam is still a liquid, it's a fluid. Perhaps steam is moving through the pipes. She is now moving horizontally across the stage as those pipes do, which are on the back, which are in between, perhaps forming the very structure of the thresholds that have been perturbed in the beginning to give her an animating presence that now keeps going. This is a ping pong match, perhaps a tennis match, but there is only one player. A game with only one player is not a game. Solitaire. This is about ways that cards fall and must be repositioned. She's repositioning. Her footsteps are making a kind of map on the floor, on the stage floor, the black stage floor that is the same color, but contains different suites, perhaps. Maybe she is clubs, hearts, diamonds. Maybe there's a different suite that we haven't seen before. Maybe this is stars, the suite of stars, the sky, the place where clouds emerge from, that they take their presence, but the stars go beyond. So this is about going beyond, and whatever is animating her that has come through this mesh field on the back is what's called her off the stage presently. And if she returns, she will return changed, transformed, alchemically altered to form a different substance, as though something that was decaying has gone and emitted.
Ready to begin.
Talents
and it was an area
are the opposite of
here,
decay,
kind of a swooping U shape that looks very well lit,
which is a reflection of the top.
Dark. Maybe there were usually curtains here or a gap in the lighting grid.
A curtain is a veil, it's not a partition.
And over here there's like some sort of trigger point or trigger person, but it feels
Trigger.
the same way over here.
Firearms use combustion to propel projectiles.
And this tension between the two areas could have been muffled by a set piece like a living room table or a fountain or a big statue.
Water is
and here,
more conductive to sound
I
waves
feel the
than
least
air.
like myself, but that has a very small footprint outside of that farm.
She's retracing the footprints.
Okay. I'm feeling a final push out into the audience, so I'm not going to be on this stage anymore.
I'd suggest not looking at me for the next moment or so, please. This movement, in effect, is what one might call a dialect of emotion within one's body. That's what was going on up there, although it's much different out here. Up there, it was more like, and I was all of it. All of them. Okay. A reading. There was an ensemble. That became clear right away. A chorus, many people, all one vibe at a time, switching but never blending. Beggars in rags, dirty and angry street people being lit from below, anxious pop rock groupies, youthful adult men, and strolling peasants. 5 is a bad number. The lights of tragedy framed the faces of those who prepare to take the stage, and we're gonna take it back! Okay. I'm soaking up the world. You have arrived at the crucial step of asking what the problem is. And that's good because that's what we need. And there is a problem, that much is clear. It should also be noted that we have different contact with different people, which is good because we all need to be included in this for now until, through the process of elimination, that is no longer necessary. If you exclude people from the process altogether, right off the bat, they learn to live without you. We're all included for now. But if last night is any indication, that will quickly not be the case. Accents are going to happen, because I just can't be heard by everything. I'll tell you that the dialects are dictated by the emotional spectrum, which is actually a spectrum of gravity. I need to be able to come out here and use a dialect that sounds like one language, but is in fact another language. I keep getting better and better. Thinking out loud here, I am currently an inverse of what was happening on stage, like a donut hole to a donut. I don't know if everything else is pushing me into this position, or if I'm kind of like a vacuum of what isn't being pushed into where I am. I'm not planning on disappearing, but if I did, it would sound like this. I am like a bat, and that was my echolocation. Okay, and here comes the ensemble coming towards us. Whoosh. And then they go back, whoosh, and wait. Now they're forming patterns, blocks of people moving around each other. An endless wall of people coming forward, peeling back, peeling out. A vague but bright sense of the future. Of our future, not theirs, clearly. Okay, and the inverse of a curtain right below my eye line goes away. As an ensemble, you have to check in with each other. You have to make sure everyone's on the same page. Nod, point, touch each other's back and shoulders. It's this enclosure of anger, and it lingers. And it's a moment in time. Wow, are we all crazy in this situation? I'm crazy. Are you crazy? You are. Good. How about you? And then I see them. When my eyes are drawn to someone, despite my feeling that I'm only supposed to notice everyone, it's because my face is drawn to their face. There's a connection that's not supposed to happen. And then one of us has to take a breath, but there's this pressure to make our breath look only and exactly like a breath rather than what it probably looks like, which is surprise, or gasp, or a holy realization. A scene is about to happen. There is something that escapes here in this breath between our faces. Something that we didn't mean to happen. I look scared, but I'm actually just breathing because that's what we all do, and that's how I look. And then, when we all have to take a breath together, well, be careful. There are many secrets. You can tell because everyone is whispering to each other. This kind of information can't travel out in the open, even in the theater. There's a lot going on, so everyone's running left and right, over and over. That's where the paths are. The quickest way from one side of the stage to the other. And when everyone's crossing paths without checking in with each other, without the, "Are you crazy? How about you?" the bonds between everyone are changed. They become stringy rather than bulky. They're stretched into strings. People running for their lives rather than everyone standing around and lingering with each other. What if, as they were running left and right, they all stopped and turned and looked at one person in the audience? What if they all turned and looked at something that wasn't there? Well, it's not that it's not there, it is. It's that, hypothetically, we've been standing here for years, and the dust that's collected on us makes us hard to see. It's a costume change. We're out here because we can't stand out on the stage for too long, for too many years, or it'll collapse. So we're standing right here, right where these chairs used to be.
I will be paranoid and ready for the end. And you know what? I am ready for the end. So it don't even matter. And I don't even care. And despite it never feeling totally appropriate, I've got some plans of my own. We're not dead, got it? We're not at the pool or in a laboratory or in a whale, okay? And that does not feel great. I feel like this chair is doing a bad job. I feel like this forward kind of growl, but that growl just is not me, so I'm facing a kind of impasse, which is something to flag. The growl is up there, moving around instead of what's out here, which has a kind of breeziness to it, like if your wrists were always up by your shoulders. There is evil here. It could stab you. This changes the way mass is organized around our collective skeleton. Heavier stabs into your lighter joints. You can't hold your wrists up by your shoulders because, surprise, they're no longer with us. I'm rotting, I swear. Many kinds. A variety of fermentations. Little piles of me. Like ant hills scattered about the stage. All hitting one of 3 different notes, forming a chord.
Xander Firth.
is a change of scene, not bright, not dark, but in between. A dimming of the lights you see, and then emerges history. A number of men approach the stage, all wearing black, exposing beige. Assigned to tasks like moving this, replacing that. We reminisce of sets and stages from scenes past. There was a column, plaster cast. There was a bench here, but no more. The men have moved it towards the door. The door! It's new! It wasn't here! And in the next act, it'll disappear! A one-time door! Quick! Take your chance to imagine the portal. Imagine your glance. Imagine the vigor to not be seen. Their sneaky, faceless figurines. I feel some movement towards the back. A grinding here along the track. It pulls us to the next big step. Out in the house. No time to prep. We see the ghastly ghouls rise. We know not where, but we surmise. Okay, take notes so we can see the moments of serendipity where deadly doings come to meet the audience and kiss their feet. We cast them as themselves. Beware. Don't reprimand, but please prepare. These pens and notebooks are for them. From you, your thoughts, from where they stand. Oh God. It comes from up above, a slice, a cut reminiscent of the sky. Though it's not high, but flat. A painted screen with one big splat in the middle. The sun. Today. Okay, this is good.
I'm going to come back and play the notebooks now. The blonde wood holds the light in an otherwise dim room. Go. I guess the clouds do their part as well. I had a second stick of gum, and I am now sensing it as an unfortunate desire. Two ringing in my mouth twice like the thought of eating semen when I really didn't want to. Is that grass or food or simply a part of life? My life or both? When I say food, I don't say it for me, I say it for you, reader. And why the fuck should I care about you? Well, I care because I suspect you might be Eric Larson or one of these other fine, as in the old-timey definition, hard-working performers, and likely to only be proved toward any of you.
Joanne Benitez?
Okay. No mouth. Not enough light to see. Writing. Go. There is something at play, something unfolding, the product of years in a dark theater. I see how being a horse and waiting in the house might make these choreographies, these masks are scary. I like this dance. A dance, David, Goliath, the Psalms. This is about music.
Ibrahim McBoyd?
Long black hair. How hard would you have to act to kill yourself or somebody else? Go. Just the right spot. Just the right spot. Each one of these words is 4 letters except for the and right. But if we average out the and right, then it would be 4 words with an average of 4 letters apiece. 4 times 4 is 16. That's 1000 in binary code. Yeah.
Dania Mullen.
Okay. Hail. Scary. Christmas equals Christmas to July. Go. Halloween, Aramaic, exclamation mark. Accents, shift of focus / perspective. There's a word that's scribbled out. Weirdest episode of scribbled out ghost hunters. Oh. Ghost hunters, accent shifters. I'm curious about these scribbled out words because there's
Kiara Alford.
okay. Open wounds. There's let's go ahead. There's Savoie. This void is in an absence of meaning, an absence of something of hotel. There's a way to
Maddie Belkinship.